With that down, let's move on to our third main topic today. And our third main topic today gets submitted to us by Michael Hirschauer, who writes, do you think it would be a good idea for Disney to release Onward on Disney Plus? Might help get people to sign up with all the possible quarantining we might have to do. All right, thanks a lot for sending that in, Michael. And yeah, we started to allude to this a little bit earlier in the earlier topic because, of course, Onward is tanking. Much not to do with its own fault. It's not its own fault. There's obviously a lot of stuff going on, but the bottom line is Onward is tanking. That's the reality that they need to deal with right now. So the question becomes, what should they do in response to it tanking? And one thing that a lot of people have been bringing up and suggesting is, let's take what Disney should do is they should take Onward right now and move it over to Disney Plus right now. I mean, because it's not going to do much more at the box office as it is, because this situation isn't getting any better in the next week or two. So they might as well just move it over to Disney now. Now, the one big reason why you won't see that happen is because Disney has contractual obligations that says once they put this movie in the theaters, they can't put it on any kind of home streaming service till 3 months after the movie debuted in theaters. So let's just be clear about that right up front, that as things stand right now, contractually speaking, Disney doesn't really have a choice. They can't just take it and put it on home streaming right now, at least not without the consent and the sign off of the movie theaters. But let's put the contractual obligations notwithstanding. Let's put that issue aside for a second. And let's just deal with the theoretical question. If there weren't contractual issues and obligations to get in the way, should Disney take Onward, realizing, hey, we're not going to make much money in theaters as it is. Maybe we should just put it on Disney Plus and reap some benefit. Now, a lot of people are going to instantly say, yes, they should. I'm going to take the other side of that, though. Even if the movie theaters came to Disney right now, Rob, and said, we're waiving all your contractual obligations to us to keep it off home video for 3 months, and we're going to let you put it on Disney Plus if you want. I'm going to suggest that it's still not a good move for Disney to do that, and I will tell you why. Because I believe there's an opportunity here. I believe there may be an opportunity here, Rob, for Disney with their Onward picture to still make some bank on this money, and I'll tell you how. Number one, we already saw that the movie's even with everything going on this weekend, it still made $10 million. It still made $10 million. That's $10 million they wouldn't have had if they hadn't had it in there. I'm going to tell you this too. I think what Disney should do instead of just rushing it onto Disney Plus and where they can make more money is if they say, you know what? In response to everything that's going on, we are pulling our movie out of theaters. We're going to pull it out of theaters. And then in 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, announce a triumphant relaunch of the movie in theaters. When theaters are however long it takes for all the theaters to become reopened en masse, and they say to commemorate this reopening of theaters, Onward, back in theaters near you. You didn't get a chance to see it before, but we're going to make sure you can see it now. And I absolutely 1000% guarantee you, they will reap a lot more benefits doing it that way than they would by just tossing in the proverbial towel and say, okay, well, let's just throw it on Disney Plus. Now, there are benefits to putting it directly on Disney Plus too. I mean, that could encourage some people who haven't already signed up to Disney Plus to maybe become new subscribers. There would be a little bit of benefit there for that. Absolutely. But I think the overall benefit of just holding off, riding this out, do a triumphant relaunch in theaters. They're not going to make another $100 million or anything, but they'll make a bunch and then put it out on Disney Plus when the time is right. I think, so Rob, I'm going to sit here and maybe say the unpopular thing. I think even if it wasn't for the contractual obligations to the theaters, I still think they should just not rush it to Disney Plus right now. I just think there's a better business case for it. But Rob, there's probably many other ways of looking at it. So how would you see that? Let's say Bob Iger is still giving you a call, even though he's not CEO anymore, he's still chairman of the board. And he says, hey, listen, Burnett, I got this. I'm struggling here. The theaters say we can release it on Disney Plus now if we want. Should we? Should we not? What wise counsel is Rob the Gray going to be giving to Bob Iger?
Well, first of all, people have to understand that every movie that's made is like a singular business unto itself. It's its own LLC, call it what you want. So when they're making a movie like a Pixar film and they spend $200 million on it, it's not like Disney, contrary to popular belief, is sitting on $200 million of liquid cash. They just, dig underneath their castle and say, here's the money to make it. All movies, they're borrowing money. They have interest payments. They've got to get that money paid back because it costs a lot of money. And so they're expecting, because they know from Pixar's previous films what the analytics are, vaguely. They know how much money that they can expect to get that money, the initial money that was made to used to make the movie, to pay that money back. So when a movie like this underperforms at the box office, it's not just detrimental in the near term, but in the long term as well, because those interest payments don't get paid back, or they have to get paid back somehow. So a movie like this not making its money back is a big problem. It's a big problem. And unfortunately, it wasn't the fault of the film. So they have to figure out, well, how can we make this up? I think your idea is a good one, but I also think that we're in a little bit of uncharted territory. Well, a lot of uncharted territory. Yeah. I would be interested, how you have, your beloved MMA fights. I'm curious. What would a pay-per-view event for a first-run movie look like? Like, let's say they're like, Onward is not coming to theaters, but one night only or one weekend only. We're going to make it available. I guess it would have to be one time only. I know there's the piracy issue, because if something is broadcast, somebody can always pirate it. But what if you had like a $40 pay-per-view event and encourage families to go and come together, not in this case, because it would be everyone's socially distanced. So to launch a pay-per-view first run A-list movie, not in movie theaters, but to put it out not on streaming. The problem with putting things on streaming is there's no revenue being generated immediately by the movie itself. You're only putting it up on a streaming service, which is only generating revenue through subscriptions, your subscriber base. So what happens is when they make a movie like a Pixar movie, they can expect to make $750 to $1 billion off that movie that they're expecting for their coffers. But you put it up on Disney Plus, they get nothing. They only get whatever your subscribers are paying. The 28 million subscribers that Disney Plus has now at, what is it, $6 a month? Well, that doesn't give them any added revenue. That's the same amount of money as their Lady and the Tramp live action remake would make, which is exactly the same amount as Onward makes, which is only what their subscribers are paying. So they don't get any more money in the coffers, which is hugely detrimental when you've spent $200 million. I mean, Netflix has a different model because they've already figured out. They're like, okay, we'll spend $165 million on The Irishman. We know that it's going to be worth it to us in the long run, but Disney Plus doesn't have that yet. It might. I mean, it might get there, but they've only got 28 million installed subscribers. So it's hard, but I would be curious. I mean, dude, if I had a first-run movie and I had the marketing budget to put it out, I would try it just to see what would it be like. Like, what if I could get No Time to Die as a worldwide pay-per-view event, although I don't even know if they have the distribution methods over the internet to be able to deliver that. But it would be interesting to see. And maybe they could do that with Onward.
I have two outcomes that will happen if they did that. Outcome number one, it's financial suicide. It's financial suicide, and I'll tell you why. You brought up MMA, and I talked about this very thing on Open Mic this weekend. So let's look at the MMA model, right?
See, I don't know anything about revenue for this.
Right. So here's where you get into trouble. So let's take your model of, like, say, a $40 pay-per-view featured premiere event, right? So what happens is when a big UFC is coming on, I've got a bunch of friends that we all love watching. You know, whenever there's a big UFC, I have people come over, we all watch UFC, right? Because It's so expensive, $40, $50, $60, not everybody just gets it. What happens is one guy gets it, and then everybody comes over to my place, and I've got 10, 15, 20 plus people here. I paid $40 for it, and now I got 20 people in my place, and we're all watching UFC, and that situation plays itself out over across the country, right? One person gets it, 8 people come over. One person gets it, 6 people come over. One person gets it, 25 people come over. In my case, it's the higher number. So what happens now is, instead of, let's take our local theaters here, Rob, let's say an average ticket of like, I don't know, let's say $15, which is low. $15. Instead of 10 people going to see the movie at $15 a pop, generating $150 in revenue, now we've got 15 people seeing it for $40. So now they've gone from $150 in potential revenue to $40. They've taken a $110 hit on the thing. And that is a scenario that I believe would play out across the world, that you'd get, you would get it and have 20 of your best friends over to come get together to watch No Time to Die. I would get it, have 10 people come over to watch No Time to Die, and they would end up making a fraction of the money that they would if they were able to have a theatrical release. The other consequence is this. You and I both know that there is a very delicate symbiotic relationship between the studios and the movie theater industry. That is sometimes very contentious, but always in balance, as all things should be. There's always a balance there, right?
Like with the Force.
Like with the Force. The moment that, say, the studios decide that they are going to, because let's call what it is. This would be effing over the theaters. This would be effing them over.
Oh, no, it absolutely would be.
Yeah. So, and we can go, oh, who cares? Here's the thing, though. The theater, having worked in that system before, I used to work with AMC, and having been there to hear some high-level conversations, I guarantee you that the moment the studios decide to F over the theaters, the whole NATO organization, North American Theater Owners, NATO, not the other NATO, NATO, the North American Theater Organization is all going to get together and go, okay, you wanted to fuck us over? Get ready. Because when it's going to hurt you the most, studios, we're going to F you over. And maintaining that balance, right? It's a very, very complex, convoluted almost, delicate ballet that these guys have to do, because on the one hand, it does seem to make sense. Look, Onward, of course, it's not making money in theaters right now. Let's figure out a way to do some home streaming for it and make a little bit of money. But the issues go far deeper than that, right? And it's tough because the movie theaters are also like, listen, we sell the movie tickets and we have people come into our theaters and you take 2/3 of it. So this got to be, so it's a very delicate, weird situation. And again, we're talking about what can actually happen as opposed to what should happen, because maybe there should be mechanisms, but it's because I had the same thought, Rob. I just don't know how you work around it. I just don't know how you work around it.
That's very astute of you to point out. I mean, I kind of was just thinking in terms of where we're at now, because this is a unique situation.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're absolutely right. Look, and I don't want to watch first-run movies in the privacy of my home, no matter how good my home theater system might evolve to becoming. I mean, the whole point is when you see movies, nothing is better than hearing a crowd respond to an awesome moment or laugh at a great joke or feel elated. Even if people aren't being necessarily vocal, you can feel the response from an audience. And that's part of the joy of going to the movies is knowing that you're connecting, even though you might not even know. One of my favorite things in the world, John, is people from all walks of life, no matter what they believe, no matter what their religious backgrounds are, their sexual preferences might be, their ethnic backgrounds, everybody will go into a movie theater together, and they will sit in the dark, and they all feel the anticipation when the lights go down and when they're there to see a big spectacle of a movie, whether it's an Infinity War, an Endgame, or a Christopher Nolan Batman movie, or the new James Bond film. Everybody's there to do one thing, and that is to watch the latest movie in the theater. And everybody's got a smile on their face, and everybody is there for a singular purpose together. And how often do you get that? I mean, you get it maybe at a rock concert, but at a movie theater, and we're being told a story where people will shut up. Well, hopefully they'll shut up and turn off their phones for 2 hours. And you when you feel everybody responding to a kick-ass action scene or a great joke, it's like, this is humanity, man. This is the power of storytelling and the power of movies and why films are important. And I don't ever want that to go away.
Yeah, to your point, though, the example I always bring up about that, listen, I've got a nice home theater system. I got a really nice 75-inch TV above the fireplace, good sound.
Yeah.
I get it, but it's crap compared to a real movie theater. And the example I always bring up is, listen, Avengers Endgame, it's still really good. If the first time you saw Avengers Endgame was at home alone, it's still really good.
Right.
But everybody, think for a moment back to the first time you sat in the theater watching Avengers Endgame. And that moment, Mjolnir flies by Thanos and flies by Thor, and it ends up in Captain America's hand as he catches it and then turns back to the screen.
Dude, I'm getting chills just hearing you say that.
Remember the reaction in the theater. I was in there with my brother-in-law, Ray. And Ray was beside me. This was like my second or third viewing of it. And it was still opening weekend. And Ray was beside me. And beside us was this dad and his kid. And like Ray and this kid were like, oh, looking at each other going, oh, and like high-fiving each other. And you see people, complete strangers in movie theaters, like raising their arms together and celebrate, or laughing at a joke, or jumping in fear, or something like that. There's just nothing beats the theater-going experience. Nothing beats it. And that's why guys like Tarantino and Christopher Nolan and Steven Spielberg talk so passionately about that experience. And it's like, yeah, I mean, there are other options. And don't get me wrong, I like still watching Endgame at home. I do. I still like popping on Endgame and watching it. But it sucks compared to being in the theater with 150 other people and the portals open and having Juan go, you wanted more? And everybody laughing together. I mean, it's just, there's nothing like it. Nothing can replace it. And I don't know. I get wound up when we start talking about this. Because Rob, every day that I wake up, and I've said this before on the show, every day that I wake up that I know I'm going to the movies later that day, it just starts the day off good for me. I just feel like this is a good day. I'm going to the movies later. I don't know. And it's going to be a shame if we lose that. Anyway, we got way off track. We got way off track on that one. But listen, guys, there probably are some good, valid arguments to be making too, as well, for even if there was no contractual obligations for putting Onward onto streaming right now, considering the situation that it's in. How do you guys feel about it? If you were in charge, would you do that? Would you rate to see if you can make more money in the theaters first, whether with a relaunch or just trying to ride this out now? What would you do as an approach to this? Jump down into the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. All right.